Hi everyone! As we know, classical music is not about records, but as in many other fields, it has its extremes. Biggest instruments, fastest players, and so on. And today we will speak about exactly this topic, the records in classical music. I've collected 5 curious, the most, the longest, the largest, the oldest, the quietest. So, if you're ready to find out more, let's go. Organ Squared, ASLSP, or As Slow as Possible, is a piece by American composer John Cage, which turned out to be the longest musical concert in the history of mankind. The performance began in the Church of St. Bernhard in the German city Halberstadt in 2001. According to the plan, it should continue for 639 years and end in the year 2640, that is 27th century. For this project, a special organ was built, which runs on electricity, but in case of power outage, it has extra solar panels and a backup generator. The pedals of this organ are pressed by sandbags, and the instrument itself is enclosed in a plexiglass box to muffle the sound. You can only hear it either inside the church or directly on a special website as a live audio broadcast. By the way, if you're interested, I will put the link in the description. The change of harmonies takes place according to a strictly calculated plan. It began on the 5th of September 2001 with a musical pause that lasted 17 months. Then the first chord sounded after about 2 years, the next, and so on. The last note change happened in September 2020, and the next one is scheduled for February 2022. So stay tuned. Immensity is what music has always sought to express. Of course, sometimes it manifests not only in a musical, but also in a physical way. History knows a lot of huge performances. For example, in 1916, when 1,068 musicians were gathered together for the American premiere of Gustav Mahler's 8th Symphony. In our time, the concert in Frankfurt, Germany, is considered to be a classical performance with the largest number of musicians, namely more than 7,500. The 45-minute concert with an ensemble 75 times the size of a typical orchestra took place at the Stadium Commerzbank Arena, which has the capacity of around 51,000 seats. The seating for musicians was set up across the playing surface, and the musicians watched the conductor on the massive video screen in front of them. They performed the 9th symphonies of Beethoven and Dvorak, as well as several lighter popular pieces, for example by English composer Andrew Lloyd Webber, author of famous musicals, Phantom of the Opera or Cats, etc. But meanwhile, we are moving on to the next record. Ever wondered which instrument is the oldest in the world? Well, it's not a violin, not an organ, and even not the ancient Apollonian lyra. According to the latest archaeological finds, the oldest musical instrument in the world is a Neanderthal flute found in a cave Divje Babin in Slovenia in 1995. Scientists estimated age at about 50,000 years, which brings us back in the Paleolithic era. The flute was probably made from a femur of a cave bear. It has 3 holes positioned in a way to produce harmonic tones, and the modern replica of this flute sounds quite well, even in melodies from Beethoven, Verdi, Ravel, and other big composers. Experts are inclined to believe that this is an excellent proof of the predisposition of ancient people, Neanderthals, or their later contemporaries Cro-Magnons to such abstract and exclusively human activity as making music. By the way, if you're interested in hearing the famous Adagio by Albinoni on Neanderthal flute, find it in a short official documentary following the link below. What is the quietest sound? Obviously, the sound that has the smallest number of decibels or doesn't have them at all. In this regard, no one has coped with the task to compose the quietest piece better than still the same John Cage, who was responsible for the first record in our list. The piece is called 433, 4 minutes 33 seconds. It consists of 3 movements, where each movement is a segment of silence. The original score looks like movement 1, touch it, which is silence in Latin, movement 2, touch it, movement 3, what a surprise, touch it. To perform, a musician or a group of musicians prepare their instruments as if they are going to play a real piece, but then do nothing for around 4 minutes and 33 seconds, except perhaps some hand or body movements to delimit the parts from each other. So technically, this allows to perform the piece on any instrument, and what is the most important, as conceived by the author, the content of the piece is the sounds of the environment that will be heard while musicians on the stage keep silence. That is, any noise, whisper or rustle in the hall, or everything that comes from outside the walls of the hall. 433, like Black Square of Malevich, is a significant and controversial work of art, as it raises philosophical and aesthetical questions both for the audience and creators. Where is the border between noise and music? Where is the border between a thing and a work of art, and so on. To my mind, not the noises in or outside the hall, but just these questions are the main thing. What is happening with the listener of 433? People start thinking about something they never think about in ordinary life. You can listen to 433 performed by the most famous orchestras in the world, for example, by Berliner Philharmoniker. As always, the link will be below. And we finish our top with the composer with the largest number of works. Many, including professional musicians, think that the most prolific composer in the history of music was Johann Sebastian Bach, who composed more than 1,000 documented pieces, and certainly few hundred more lost. Still, Bach is not a champion. The largest number, namely more than 5,000, belongs to the Austrian musician Simon Sechter, who was and still remains known more as a theorist and teacher than a composer. Nevertheless, Sechter tried to compose 1 fugue every day, and it was exactly thanks to this resolution that he reached such a monstrous number. Of course, here we take into account only number of pieces, not the complexity or length. For example, famous Bach's composition Matthew Passion lasts for about 3 hours, and one Sechter's fugue only a few minutes. So in this regard, hardly anyone can surpass Bach or his contemporary German composer Georg Philipp Telemann, who has around 3,000 documented compositions, which is impressive, especially considering that Telemann was completely self-taught. To summarize, I can say that this is a great example of the fact that it is the quality that matters, not the quantity. So, hope you were able to get something interesting from this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you soon. Bye!